Hello, my lovely group, the Conscious Creative Collective for Soulpreneurs on the Rise. I have a soulpreneur here with me, my friend Shannon, and today we're interviewing for we're live now. We're interviewing for the Magnetic Storytelling Challenge. And I don't feel challenged today. I feel in flow, but we look so cute, curly girls. We can see ourselves in the in the screen. This is my first time hosting an interview at my house. I'm really excited about this. But today's whole theme is around storytelling, and we got together just a few minutes before, but we've known each other for about a year now. Talked so many beautiful things about astrology and life, but I have not really heard a lot of your story. And so when I read your bio, I was like, this is going to be juicy. I had to have Shannon on to tell her story. She's also writing a book like I am. And it's going to be an exciting interview. If you have any questions, you can pop them in the comments. But for now, I wanted to ask you, how did you get into sharing your story?
Ooh. I mean, I just really believe that our stories unlock so much. I don't know how many times I've sat with someone and just listened to like what they've been through and what they've experienced, and that has unlocked so much for me. And honestly, like I've kind of lived my life like for the purpose of it being a really good fucking story. And in some ways it's gotten me in a lot of trouble, but it's been really spicy, really fun. I'm definitely going to exit this lifetime being like, wow, I fucking lived. I fucking did that. So, I just feel like it needs to be told. I feel like there's something really, really sacred in being super transparent about what you've been through, who you are, how you came to be who you are today, your struggles, the things that other people think that you should be ashamed of, being willing to admit them is like so fucking powerful. So transparency is very much like at the core of my value system.
I love this so much because as I'm holding space and teaching people to share their vulnerable stories, there's been a lot of challenges coming up in the field of what if this story is too much, like what if I'm too much. So I really love that you're like out there trying to create the best story possible and being your full self, whether anyone says it's too much or not. But you have a pretty cool story that someone out there might think is too much, but most of the people here are just going to resonate with. So I wanted to ask you, where do you want to start in your story today, telling us a little bit about yourself? I know, very broad general questions, but
I mean, I'll start with I grew up in a really small town in Missouri. My mom was what I call a holy roller, meaning she was like a devout Christian, very like my friends would come over and she'd be like, everyone needs to pray. And we did a lot of church hopping. And so that was kind of what started my rebellion. So anyways, I got rebaptized into a Pentecostal church whenever I was 14. While I was simultaneously in a very beautiful relationship. So pretty much around the same time I lost my virginity, which then caused like a huge oh my God, like they're telling me I shouldn't do this, but I just did this and this felt very right, and experienced a lot of shame. So then I kind of got very lost from there, confused, believed the church in that I had given my value away. So long story short, whenever I graduated high school, I ended up living in Houston, Texas, which fun fact, has more strip clubs per square mile than anywhere else in the US. And I ended up becoming an exotic dancer, and then eventually ended up doing sex work. And now I know that actually comes from my Egyptian roots and my deep connection to Isis and sex magic. But at the time I was totally unconscious of what I was doing, and I was just trying to survive, and it just, I followed this path for a really long time. And where my work comes in is, authenticity is the most important thing that we need to know, and that we need to remember and we need to learn. And I lived so inauthentically for so long. All of my friends, my family, no one knew what I was doing. I was literally living two different lives. I had partners who had no idea that I was I had clients, and and then eventually I yeah, and he was eventually, I met a very sweet man who, one of my first husband, and he luckily saved me from this when he caught me. And yeah, that's kind of interesting because you realize that we definitely have karmic contracts with people. And he definitely came into my life to be like, no, like you don't need to be doing this anymore. I mean, he forgave me immediately and only was like, I want to help you and protect you and get you off of this path. So anyways, yeah, I eventually got out of the path, started living authentically, starting having connections with people and like really telling them who I am. But that was a very long, challenging journey. And one of the biggest pieces of it is I encountered psychedelics. And so psychedelics have been a huge part of my awakening and coming back to self. And simultaneously with psychedelics, home has been a very important part of just my path. Like at very key moments, my home has kind of been taken away from me in my spiritual awakening, and so that's been like formed as like just such an important part of what we need in order to learn and grow. So yeah, I got introduced to psychedelics shortly after I had been doing a lot of solo travel around Southeast Asia, so I started to get introduced to other forms of religion where they don't tell you that your sexuality is this shameful thing. And I started just seeing that other people live such different lives, you know, lives like you, where you get to like work online and have this just like amazing life of flow and authenticity. And yeah, so anyways, I just started to see these other ways of being, and then psychedelics came into my life and just broke my reality open even further. And around the same time that psychedelics came into my life, just an apartment that I fucking loved in New York. I was living in New York for 11 years, and me and a really close girlfriend, suddenly were forced to move out of our apartment.
This home theme.
Yeah. So we found a new place rather quickly, and but our relationship kind of got quite stressed from the sudden move. Finances were tough, and shortly after living in this space, I was like, oh my god, like everything seems off, like the vibe just feels off. And this was my first time thinking in terms of vibe, like vibration, and being like, so out of nowhere I was like, I'm gonna go buy some crystals. I'd never done anything metaphysical before, worked in this realm, so I was like, it just felt like the right thing to do.
Definitely.
And
we've all been there.
So I'm gonna go buy some rocks. Yes. I don't have any fucking money, but I need some rocks.
Yes, for sure. I'll spend my last check on rocks.
Right. So I go to this Manhattan apartment owned by this woman who is just the most cute, adorable fairy, dressed in all purple, and her tiny little studio apartment was all purple, and she just had crystals everywhere. And she was helping somebody, and she was like, go ahead and pick out what you need, and I'll help you a little bit after if I have time. So I pick a few crystals. And then I go to check out, and of course she's just like, yeah, you picked the citrine because you're calling in abundance. You've got this lack mindset. You called in the amethyst for this, and she was just so stoked. And she was like, you know what? I don't have time to share more, but call me tomorrow because I really want to share more about why these are going to work for you.
Cool.
So anyways, that was the beginning of me created sacred space of home. And this next apartment proceeded to tell the whole story of my growth and timeline from there. And I eventually went to a crystal healing class at this woman's house and brought my girlfriend for her birthday. And the crystals ended up unlocking my intuition and my psychic gifts for the first time.
I felt that.
And actually it's what brought me here, living by the volcanoes here in Guatemala. So I walked into the space, and she was like, pick just 3 crystals that really speak to you. So I went for this fluorescent yellow because I'm definitely a color girl. I love color. Life just needs to be colorful. So I go and I pick up this fluorescent yellow crystal, and underneath it says Shannon and Sons. So my name's Shannon, and whoever harvested this was a company named Shannon and Sons. And so I was like, oh, weird.
Shannon.
And the crystal was sulfur. And she proceeds to guide us through this meditation where I have this big vision of a volcano, and the whole time I'd actually been thinking like the volcanoes. I'd had volcanic visions like coming through for about a month prior to this, because again, this is at the beginning of my discovery with psychedelics. And so suddenly I'm just having all of these visions, realizing these synchronicities, these like patterns coming through in a way that I had never done before. And so anyways, I see this vision of a volcano, and I had been fearful of these volcanic visions. I thought that it was going to be something scary. I thought it was going to actually be my worst fear, which is losing one of my parents. So I'm seeing the volcano, and the volcano just erupts, and it goes, it's just like a teeny tiny, like no big deal. And I was like, oh, okay. And we continue to go through the meditation, and I see me and my girlfriend who I brought for her birthday, like floating in a just pool of golden water.
Wow.
And like we come out of this vision or this meditation, and I share with the teacher like what I had seen. And she's like, all right, I actually don't know too much about sulfur. She's like, so let's look it up. And of course, it comes from volcanoes. And she was like, and in Chinese, it means golden water. So the fact that I had seen my friend and I like floating in it was just so synchronistic. And yeah, from there, it just kind of all continued to grow, and I continued to work with psychedelics. A big part of my journey was learning how to truly tap into like my body and hear like the messages coming from my body. I was able to lose 60 pounds by intuitive eating, and just really hearing my body say like, hey, I'm hungry now. I'm no longer hungry now. And, you know, I had struggled with my weight for years, and suddenly I was able to have everything I wanted, but my body would just tell me when I'd had enough of everything. And it was just so nice to suddenly start being able to like flow through life. And yeah, eventually I got the call to live closer to nature after going to Peru and sitting with ayahuasca, and found my way here to Guatemala, and living by the volcanoes, which eventually the vision did come true. I did get the call that my dad had 10% heart output and was almost passing while I was living here.
Wow.
And, you know, he made it through. Yeah, he's got a pacemaker, he's rocking and rolling. So, like, just very fascinating to, like, see that, like, full circle, like, happen. And, yeah. I mean, just the way of finding here. But then to circle back to like the home aspect is right before actually let's backtrack a little bit.
Back it up. Let me begin.
So along this journey, there was a point, I mean, really early on with working with psychedelics, that I just knew that I was intended to work in the healing realm. I had been doing hair for 17 years, which I love doing, because I love making women feel beautiful. And
look at our hair.
I know, right?
Special hair.
I love making women like connect with their natural, like their natural selves. Like, don't flat iron that shit. Color it if you're just going to enhance it, but not do a big change.
Right. Transformational space. Well, you were saying in the healing arts.
Yeah, so I started to feel this call, like, you know, I feel like I'm intended to be a healer. But of course I was like, well, what does that mean? And where do I start? So I think I start where a lot of people start. You know, I got trained in Reiki, and I got trained in EFT, followed that for a while. And the biggest part, though, for me was actually starting to do Joe Dispenza's visualization practices and starting rewiring my mind. So it really all came down to limiting beliefs. Yeah, what were the stories in my head that were telling me that I couldn't have it fucking all? You know, the relationship, the finances, the beautiful home, the good weather every day, like the ability to travel, the ability to be in my feminine flow, all of the things. And so I did a lot of work rewiring, and still was like, but like, how am I going to apply this? Like, how am I going to actually help others? Like, what is so authentically me that I can like bring to the table to help others, because I believe that's what it is like, how much can you unfold the layers of self to really find out like what your unique thing is that you give to the world. And I don't know if I've 100% figured that out. I think I'm actually supposed to give a lot of unique gifts to the world. But in this realm right now, as a manifesting generator who also,
I was just gonna ask, I was just gonna say, sounds like manifesting generator.
I eventually did a energy clearing session with a very close sister, and it was my first time sitting with Hape in a ceremonial space, and I mean, it was just wild. It was intended to be about 30 minutes to an hour. It ended up being close to 2 hours, because I proceeded to just like feel this energy in between my fingertips. And I mean, it was just as if someone else was pressing against my fingers, and it just guided me for like 30 minutes, moving this energy all around. And I finally came out of it, and my sister, who was holding the space, she looks at me and she goes, "Wow, you're a medicine woman." And she was like, and I kept asking the medicine, like, "What is your medicine?" And I asked if it was Hape, and it was like, no. And then eventually she was like, I asked if it was the mushroom, and I said yes.
Good.
And the mushroom had been such a big part of my journey, but I had never considered holding mushroom space. Because, yeah, I feel like it's a very deep honor. It's very, you're really entering the unknown. Like, there's a large amount of responsibility there. And so, coincidentally, as the universe does, the next week I had a client come get her hair done with me, and she tells me that she had just sat with the Maria Sabina mushrooms. And Maria Sabina had been, just someone that I really looked up to as like a female, like, healer. And she tells me that she sat with these mushrooms. I was like, we have access to the Maria Sabina mushrooms. And she's like, yeah. And I was like, okay, like this is where I'm going to start following this path and ask some questions. So the following week, I had these mushrooms, and it was the full moon in Gemini, which is where my Chiron is. So my wounded healer. Really? Interesting. All right.
We both have the same tattoo as well.
Yeah,
right?
Isis sisters.
So should I show my thighs?
Of course you should show your thighs.
We'll talk more about synchronicities in a moment. But you were, as you were saying.
So I choose the Gemini full moon to do this, and my wounded healer is in making a responsible contribution to society. And it's also about authority and like rebellion, simultaneously feeling like we need some structure, but also creating our own structure. So rewriting those limiting beliefs like I was talking about before. And so I embark on this journey. I do 5 grams, which is my first time doing 5 grams. And I'm doing it myself. I'm holding my own space.
Wow.
I, of course, had a friend very close by that she knew that she should be available if needed.
Cool. Safety kids.
But I do this with the intention of like asking the medicine, all right, is this true? Is this something that I'm intended to do? How do I feel about possibly holding this sort of space? And I enter into the space, and I mean, these mushrooms, for one, are just so special. And I only work with the Mazatec mushrooms in ceremony, because I believe they just bring like this deep, deep knowing that you're held by something bigger. And which I think we can all, like, once you really find that foundation of like, oh, I deeply fucking trust the universe that all of this is working for me, then you're willing to go ahead and jump off the cliff and do all the things that you want to do. So, I enter into the journey, and really early on, I start to go into a trail of fear about a financial situation that was unfolding. I was about to have to pay like 2 months of rent in New York and my rent here in Guatemala, because we had an Airbnb in New York, and it just wasn't booked for 2 months. And I was like, ooh, I don't know, this is a
problem.
So I start to think about this. And, my higher self, the mushrooms, which I believe are very much one and the same. I believe it's God, it's yourself, it's the spirit of the mushroom, and you're all conversing with yourself within this space. And it says, are you going to go there? And I was like, no, I'm not. I trust it. And I proceeded to go through like 30 minutes of just intensely on every cellular level, just understanding how much I trust it, how much I trust the universe, how much I trust myself, how much I trust that like just existence can be that fucking good that no, I don't need to go there. And it was just so visceral. I was kicking, screaming, crying, just like letting out all of the fear from my body. And as soon as this ended, I received my light language channel for the first time. And I proceeded to just receive this channel that came in, and it cast spells, like, and just going through all of my DNA, all of my ancestry lines, pulling out old patterns and old belief systems. And in the end, like the big unfolding of the ceremony was the mushroom saying, if you choose to hold this space, you can trust that you will be guided by something bigger than yourself. And that felt so good. It felt so good. And it was no more than a week later that I had a client coming to sit with me. Cool. And, it was really cool. One thing I've heard is, when you're trying to find your purpose and the thing that you're supposed to do, it's the thing that people are just already asking you to do. And I'd already had like many sisters who had their first trip with me over the course of like the years prior. And so, yeah, the universe started showing up and, just supporting this path. And now there were definitely gaps where I've taken time to like reintegrate, because like that's the biggest part of it, is like having to integrate. You can do as much medicine as you want, you can see how divine you are, you can know it, you can believe it, you can feel it, but then the next day, are the people around you still in alignment? Is your relationship still in alignment? Is the food that you're putting into your body in alignment? Is the way that you're spending your money in alignment? Are your routines in alignment? Most of all, is the way that you're talking to yourself in alignment? Like, are you really saying kind things to yourself? And yeah, are you following the flow of life, or are you trying to like control the outcome? And yeah, so I've taken time to integrate. Shortly after, I went to, maybe 6 months later, I went to Peru to sit with ayahuasca for 3 weeks and do 2 dietas. And during that journey, I received one other light language from an extraterrestrial star family, and then some deities who come in and also now assist me in the medicine space. But what's interesting about this trip to Peru is I was just about to leave, and suddenly the universe is like, oh, you want to revisit that lesson about home? I simultaneously had to pack up my apartment in New York and pack up my home here in Guatemala, all during the 2 weeks leading up to going to Peru. So like the time when I'm really trying to ground and like get ready and get clear with my intentions, I'm literally having to sell all my belongings in New York from my 11-year life there. I'm having to like find somewhere else to live here. I loved my home here. And like, yeah. And it was just so fascinating, again, having this key moment in my timeline, have this home come in. And when it came to find a new home here, there wasn't really anything in my budget at the time. So I had to make the choice to really align with my values. And I believe that home, having a place to rest and nest and nourish that really reflects you, is so important. So I spent a little more than I intended to, and it ended up being the best thing that I ever did. Like, sometimes you just have to show up for that higher timeline and trust that the universe is going to be like, don't worry, we've got you. The support's going to come in. The abundance is going to come in. And it did, because it was in alignment. It was what I needed. So when I came home and I had this beautiful home up a mountain without all of the wild energy that is here in Guatemala in our village.
Over there.
She's like, it's not right here. It's far away from me
quiet.
as well.
Yeah, this is my home. We're here being calm and grounded together.
Right.
But yeah, made a difference.
From the madness. Yeah, I mean, it was just the move. It was just the move. And yeah, what was fascinating is while I was in New York, packing up the apartment there with my ex-partner, so we were also going down memory lane of the previous chapter of our life there, was actually when this business that I am starting started to unfold. And yeah, like I love nothing more. Like I believe in fairy tales. I daydream. I believe it's one of my superpowers to literally like go for a walk and allow my imagination to just like run off and create these possibilities and see which ones like stick. And you know, as a manifesting generator, a lot of my possibilities don't stick for very long. I get really excited about them and then another one takes me. But this one has stuck.
Yes.
And yeah, so it's called Relocation Doula. The name took like a year and a half to come through. But yeah, anyways, as I was packing up my space and just like realizing how important it is and how long it had taken me to create this like very sacred home in New York, like, and for it to like reflect me and reflect my partner at the time, like it really is like the space evolved with me. And so yeah, like this space of home came through, and I don't know if that's where I should start going and like segueing more about that, but
yes, you know,
yeah,
well, I want to just draw some synchronicities, because as you're speaking, I can see some of my clients are getting a lot of value from this talk, and I work with people who have similar fears, who have big dreams. And what I'm hearing mostly, and then I want to ask you more about this offering, because what I'm hearing mostly on your soulpreneur journey is that, you know, you're saying, okay, yeah, it started to unfold, but what I'm hearing is it was unfolding this whole time. And that's what I want to transmit to anyone listening, of like, if you're in it, if you're like home is being exploded, or you know, everything is crumbling down, that you just get to remember, say what Shannon was saying, say the mantra in your head of like, this, you know, this is unfolding for my highest good.
It really is.
But like we don't know yet. We don't know yet like where it's all going to take us, but it's ultimately, if you're a soulpreneur, it's ultimately taking you to your offering. And your offering isn't a course that you put together to make money. Your offering is your life's offering,
your
based on your
authenticity.
life's transitions. So I'm seeing, because of the home situation, all of your talents, which is very manifesting generator, but I think it's any multi-passionate creative, is like, I have all of these things.
I love that.
How can I?
Creative.
Yes, and this is why I predominantly help. So I know this challenge of being like, oh, I need to get known for yoga. I need to get known for one thing, or what the coaches and the marketing gurus tell you need in order for people to buy. And I'm here to say, no, for you, for Shannon, for me, for folks who have something deeper moving through them, you get to combine all of your life lessons thus far and craft something that is unique to you, that's really going to serve somebody in this moment now, based on all the lessons that you learned. So this is how this cool relocation doula, by the way, if I was relocating, I'd be like, this would be a dream. And it sounds like the thing that you would have loved to have when you were like, oh my God, I have to do this on my own. Like, and then you realize that, well, the universe has got you back. I'm not alone. But you get to be that person. You get to be the fractal of the universe coming in and being like, you're not alone. I've been through this. Let me help you. I also know this place really well. And you don't. So, and I could do your hair and give you some mushrooms. That'd be fun. Deeper than that. But you tell me what the offering is all about.
Well, I mean, I'll start by saying, just like, going back to like limiting beliefs, is like, I truly do believe like we don't it helps to like hone in on one thing, but I also think we are multi-dimensional creatives. So like being able to like feed both like the deeply spiritual side where I get to be in like medicine space and I get to open myself as a channel to like help others heal and activate their own highest timeline. I also just, I need to have my creative, playful, colorful side come through. Um, which is where Relocation Doula came through. And essentially, you know, doula means to be in service. So I've created an offer where I'm going to be in service of a high impact woman who is either running her own business or she's making a big impact on the world. So she has a lot of responsibility. She's very passionate about it. She loves it. But she also is deeply aware that it's very important for her to stay in her feminine flow because that is where her actual gifts are harnessed and activated. And as a woman, it's not easy to stay in our feminine flow in the world that we live in. So I have relocated 4 times in my life, and one time here to Guatemala, so being abroad. And each time, you know, it's always been an opportunity to reinvent myself. And I think usually when we do move, we really are like, okay, this is a new chapter. You know, I'm excited to connect with new people that I'm more aligned with. I'm excited to create some new habits, and yeah, have some new experiences. So essentially, I've created this offer where I will be doing weekly authenticity activation sessions where I will really deeply get to know this woman. Like, what makes her just heart burst open? What is she excited about? Like, what are her limiting beliefs? Like, who does she want to be connecting with? What helps her life flow? And through getting to know her so well in these sessions and helping her activate these things, helping her get more clear on her boundaries, helping her get more clear about how to take care of her feminine nature so she can really like make an impact, but do it from a place of like self, not from a place of like I have to push so hard. And so through these sessions, I'll get to know her so well that I will be able to then simultaneously interior design her home in a way that totally reflects who she is. Because whenever you walk into someone's space, I mean, you get to know that person. It tells a story. Like, I mean, I walk in here, and I mean, you've got you and all of your playful little hats. You've got your altar space with your Ankh and your deep connection to the Egyptian roots and Isis. You know, you've got just, I mean, it just feels like you.
Stuffies everywhere.
She's got kitties everywhere too. Like, it just feels like Christina, you know? Like, aesthetically pleasing, cozy, and yeah, so it tells a story. So I want to be able to tell the story of this woman in her space. And I also want her space to be 100% down to every detail ready for her when she moves in. From a customized herbal apothecary cabinet, because I work with the plants in many forms and create customized tinctures for people based on what is going on with their body, their hormones, their digestion, whatever it is, to having like the refrigerator just totally full of anything that she needs for the first 2 weeks. So when she lands, she can just land. And the ceremonial aspect will be intertwined where, we'll actually spend some time cutting the cords with the old life, the things that she's trying to leave behind, and really calling in those big, massive manifestations that she's trying to call into the new timeline, or that she is calling into the new timeline. Because that's it. It's the magic spells. It's the magic spells. How clear can you be with your word and speak things into existence? Believe that they exist, know that they exist, and just trust. So I'm here to help her with that and add color to her life, and help her feel held while she goes through this transition.
Oh, wow. Is that you? Wow, it feels like me. It feels like all of us, right? Who couldn't use a relocation doula? I want all of that. I want a medicine cabinet here. Either way, even though I'm not relocating. Thank you very much. So fun.
Oh, I would like to add an extra portion to it.
More.
So, it really comes down. We have 4 homes. We have our physical home inside our body. We have our spiritual home. We have our home of Mother Earth, and then we have our home of our physical space that we get to live in. So it's all about bringing all of those homes together. So a foundation of the business is bringing the home into harmony with the earth. So it will be very focused on making things eco-friendly. A big thing that's happening in New York right now that just is like obscene, because there's just like so much money there, is people are just like putting designer items on the curb. People are trying to sell designer items for, just lesser amounts. They have help moving it out of their space.
Wow.
And a lot of these things are ending up in the landfill. But anyways, I want to incorporate this like ability to like use really epic designer secondhand items, facilitate getting those moved into the home, keeping the home deeper in resonance with the earth in that sense, while also simultaneously investing in some really epic designer like pieces by artists, because I mean, we've got epic artists. We want to be supporting more people who are paving a new way of being, a new way of supporting themselves, a new way of staying in the feminine flow. So the way that the funds that are going to be invested into this new home, it's really all about making sure it's all actually in alignment with what you really care about. And this client deeply cares about the earth and deeply knows that the more she's taking care of the earth, more she will take care of you. And I'm really excited to create like sacred earth spaces. So there's just going to be fucking plants everywhere. Because especially I'm imagining my first clients in New York City, and you have to have plants in your home. You have to have them, and nothing transforms a space more than having just like luscious vines intricately designed everywhere. And
Yes. Well, something is coming through because I'm just like, every time she speaks, I'm like, yes, Virgo. Yes, Virgo. Because I have two prominent things in Virgo, but I think you have like 6. Is that what it is?
That probably should have been mentioned really early on.
First of all, we're Virgos, but she is the Virgo, and Virgo's just so structured, organized, and
detail.
And the altar space of it all. So that's what I'm seeing for this space too, of like the whole home and altar. That's how I see my space, because it's my workspace as well, and it's like the whole home and altar. And your work in the world, and you moving into a new house and getting relocated, because I feel like there's somebody listening that needs this. It's like, do you want to walk into a new space, an empty place, or you want to walk into an altar that you've designed with somebody who really cares about you, who's soul design, your design as the Virgo, it's the ultimate Virgo, is like the high priestess of like, you really care, moving the energy and all of that. So it's really, what a spectacular offer. I do have something that I mention, that I ask everybody that comes on, and we're getting close to we're gonna slow it down and close it down phase. But one, I definitely want all the people to know how they can contact you, but I have something first that might take us a little deeper. But if there's anything that you could tell your younger self who was feeling like you had this offering, you knew somewhere inside you had this offering, maybe you hadn't yet taken the mushrooms yet, or you had, but you didn't, you're sitting with the mushrooms asking the deep questions. Is there anything that higher self, priestess Shannon wants to say to the younger version of you who wasn't sure if you could pull this offering off?
I mean, just trust and patience. Divine timing is so fucking real. And it's better whenever you just go ahead and trust that is what it is. And whenever you are actually ready, like the universe is just going to capture you and hold you. But the more that you try to control it, the more that you try to push, and you're like, but like, I want it now.
My bird.
Is actually just slowing down the process. Patience. And let it flow. Just trust that it's there. Like, go ahead and, exude that knowing that timeline already exists. Like, it may appear in front of you as if it's not already happening, but like, it's happening. And just fucking trust that. And the more that you feel that deeply within your spirit, like, the better. And have fun, be more playful, laugh with your sisters. Like, yeah, just be silly.
Oh, I love that. Something was moving through that I've been coaching my clients around recently is not everything deep needs to feel heavy. And you are just the epitome of that, of like, we are just two deep chicks, just, making fun. And the mushrooms bring so much levity to things. They really do. When I am feeling a bit heavy, I even just be around a little bit of magic. And, and then I wanted to say that magic is just spending more time on something than someone would reasonably expect. Spending more time on something than anyone would reasonably expect. And so that's where that patience comes in. So when we're being patient with our manifestation, we're not just like, we're not pretending to be patient, but we're like swearing at the lake, like, where's my thing? But we're actually studying, we're learning, we're going about our life. And it makes patience, because I've had to learn patience the hard way. But like, I'm a little fast, I'm a little fast, little East Coast go-getter also. Like, not New York, but Rhode Island style.
Yeah.
But it's like, fast. I want my thing now, and where's my thing? And hey, I'm walking here, and why are you driving so slow? So it's like when the manifestation is taken so dang long, especially when you're good at what you do, and you're like, but where's my millions, or where's my thousands, or where's my client, or where's this idea? When is it ever going to drop in? When we're engaging in this path of patience, that we actually get to study and we get to play and we get to talk to our friends, because it was from our group, our brunch group, that we got to know each other even more. And I realized how cool your offerings were. And just every brunch, we all manifest. We put our manifestations in the middle of the table, and then we get it.
Prayers.
And then we get it, but some of us have to be patient for it. But we're having fun along the way.
Yeah.
And then our manifestations surprise us with how quick they come in, because we're not sitting, looking at it, waiting for it to arrive. So thank you for that insight. And to close, if there's anything else that's coming through from the High Priestess, and I should say, how can people get in on this offer? How can they get in touch with you?
So I have a website. It's gypsyinthewild.com. And I have both my offerings for sacred mushroom journeys, which I do it a little bit unique compared to how other people hold sacred space, is they are always private ceremonies. I really like to go deep one-on-one with people. And I actually require 4 months of integration. So 1 month of preparation, which is focused on tuning into the body. And then the following 3 months after the ceremony, follow the elements. So it starts with earth, the body, and then the mind into the mental space, and then into water, into the emotions, and then fire with the spirit. Whenever you sit with medicine, it's so important to integrate, and I wish I had help integrating at the beginning. It was really, really hard, especially whenever I was living in the US. So I make this mandatory. You're going to be supported, you're going to be creating really long-lasting change. If you haven't heard, I know a lot of people are getting on the boom with mushrooms, but mushrooms increase the neuroplasticity of the mind, so you have the ability to actually create this change much, much easier. You are really supported by medicine from the earth. So I have that on there if you want to read on that. I do a curiosity call, which are very helpful even if you don't end up embarking on the journey. You get some space to voice and hear yourself and hear what's really, really alive. And then, the Relocation Doula's on there, and come check me out.
Check us out. Curiosity call. Oh, the mushrooms I can feel them. Before we close too, I wanted to just say another synchronicity. Well, first of all, you've been talking about so many synchronicities, and I'm about to have a live course that has been a secret up until now, but it's called Stories, Synchronicities, and Your Guaranteed Success. And it's going to be cool. Oh, symbols, stories, and synchronicities, and your guaranteed success. And what I was hearing from your story too, that I wanted to point out, is that when you are trusting the divine, when you are in alignment, the synchronicities show themselves, and they just keep saying, yes, yes, stay patient, yes, yes, yes. And even when things are feeling like it's all going awry, it's all going wrong, it's not going to work out for me, that there'll be a little synchronicity. You're on the path, you're on the path.
Yeah.
And just so many synchronicities that we have, and the more we get to know each other. So everybody out there, keep telling your stories. Even like, look, I think I look like everyone, but like every time I look in the mirror with someone, I'm like, wait, do we look alike?
We do. We're curly girls, Isis sisters.
It's the Isis sisters.
I mean, no joke though. It was so wild that I came over here and ended up finally reading the Mary Magdalene manuscripts after finding it here at your home, and it was such divine timing. Like the seed was planted years ago for me to read that book, and being at your home and borrowing it from you, and anyways,
Divine. So thank you for sharing your story, because I know it has impacted the people. And if you're taking the magnetic storytelling challenge, it's like, it's just tell it from the heart. We didn't have anything written. We didn't have any plans. We more planned our outfits than the actual story.
Yeah.
So.
As a Virgo, perfectionism runs deep. If I were to plan, it just wasn't gonna happen.
Right. It was so natural,
so
cool.
Just
you just let it go. Just tell your story. And you see, I want to say too, I like meta things, like behind the scenes of like how you were going into details, and you were like shining a path. Like you could see, I as a visionary could see the story unfold, and I'm like, this is cool. And who feels more connected to her now? So, so many things are happening.
Guys.
Yay! Between the lines, and between the air, and between this electric magnetic current that we've created in this space together. So reach out to either one of us, share your story, let us know what's going on in your life. If I can't support you, Shannon can, and if Shannon, feels like I'm your curly girl, then
we've got a whole sisterhood of women for anything that you could possibly need. That's like what's so fantastic about just our life, is we're surrounded by so many powerful women, and I'm grateful that you're one of them. The coven.
The creative coven. Well, lovelies, this was so fun, and we'll see you next time.